want to talk. I want to talk about the problem with the WWE in 2022 because I mean this company is a shit show. And I know you're going to be in the comments, well, they posted, the best revenue ever. I don't care about revenue. I don't care about the business side of things. I'm talking from a fan perspective, as a consumer of the product, as someone that's been watching the product for over 30 years now. Like when I was a little kid, I was, a Hulkamaniac. It's like most little kids were. Like Hulk Hogan was the shit. And, this larger than life character battling these other larger than life characters, it was a different time, and obviously the business has changed a lot. You've gotten a lot more sort of realistic stuff. The style has gotten a lot more athletic, and I don't think that's bad. Things need to evolve. Things need to change because they become stagnant after a while. You can't do the same thing over and over again. And I feel like that's what the problem is with WWE in 2022. Now, admittedly, I haven't been watching the product nearly as much as I used to because I always felt like when I was tuning in, it was just the same old shit. It was the same people, the same storylines, the same sort of rehashed things, and there wasn't anything like new to it. There wasn't anything that felt different. And looking at the product in 2022, I watched the Royal Rumble. And the Royal Rumble, I feel, and the subsequent aftermath of the Royal Rumble just proves what this problem is. And they don't know how to do like new things. They don't know how to do new things. Let's look at who won the Royal Rumble in 2022. For the men's division, it was Brock Lesnar. For the women's division, it was a returning Ronda Rousey. And it's like, I've seen this before. I've experienced this before. Is this a rerun? Like, it feels like that Back to the Future scene where, Marty's talking about, I've seen this before. And people are like, what? No, this is a brand new episode. It's like, you can't fool me. I've experienced this before. The whole part-timer coming in and getting the shine over the people who have been with the company for years and years and years, who are busting their ass to make the company still relevant. And I get that. I don't think there's anything wrong with having special attractions. I don't think there's anything wrong with bringing back older people from, the heyday of wrestling. But Bill Goldberg is challenging Roman Reigns for the title in Saudi Arabia. Now, there's so many things wrong with that. There's first and foremost, why? Why would Bill Goldberg, just from a story perspective, just from a strictly story perspective, what has Bill Goldberg done to earn a title shot? Is this how things work? You just come in and you're like, oh, you know what, motherfucker, I'm number one contender. I want a title shot. And it's like, no, it undermines everything else you're doing. It undermines everything else you're trying to do with your other wrestlers, because why are these other people in the company even in the company if they're not getting the same shots as some of these old timers get? And I get it. Look, Bill Goldberg was one of my favorite wrestlers of all time in WCW in '98 when he was doing the whole when he did the Georgia Dome thing and he beat Hogan on live TV in the summer. I was 13 years old. I was like, this motherfucker is cool as shit. I like Bill Goldberg's style, that sort of power style with a little bit of MMA that they were trying to do with him. I don't even think Bill Goldberg is, a bad wrestler. I know there's a lot of people that don't like his style, obviously the whole Bret Hart thing, but to me, that was just more of a freak accident. But the problem is, it's Bill Goldberg in 2022. Over 20 years since his high point in wrestling. And it's like, why? You have so much talent on your roster. There are so many, quality wrestlers that you could build storylines around. But instead, you just go back to the well. You go back to what's familiar. You go back to the Brock Lesnar, the Ronda Rousey, the Bill Goldberg. And I don't understand why this is the direction. And you could say, well, obviously from a business perspective, it's paying off. But how much of that is actually true? Because things like ratings, things like merchandise buying, I'm sure it's not quite as high as it was when you would develop new stars, your Stone Colds, your Rocks, the people of that era, the Triple H even, the Mick Foleys, Cactus Jack, whatever you want to call them. I feel like that was an era, the Attitude Era, where they created stars and they had stuff for people to do from the top to the bottom. And you don't have that now. Like, you have these little side feuds, you have these little comedy characters and stuff, and it works. But the thing of it is, it's like there's no ladder for these people to climb. There's no incentive for these people, because all that's going to happen is some part-timer is going to come along and just steal their shine. And I don't have a problem with part-timers coming in and people from that past. It's how you use those people. I think Sting in AEW is being used in the perfect manner. Sting's not out there challenging for titles. Sting's not out there, you know, trying to undermine some of the younger talent. No, he's just the crafty veteran doing his thing, getting the pops, going over, you know, some of the mid-card people, and nobody gets hurt. Like, you lose to Sting, you're not hurt. You could go right out the next week and have a title match, because they've built Sting up to be this aura, this character who transcends belts, who transcends really the industry. And Sting can still go. That's the whole thing. Sting is fucking diving off his stages and shit. Bill Goldberg, his whole game was a power game. And where's his power now? Like, he's not that same guy. And I just feel like this is the problem. There's so many supposedly unhappy people in the company right now, and it's because of things like horrible planning, horrible booking, you know, storylines that go nowhere, storylines that don't make sense, you know, integrating people that are part-timers as full-timers and giving them all the shine over the people who are sitting there building up your company. You have to throw these people a bone eventually. You have to give these people some spotlight, or else they're just going to want to go other places. There's so many different wrestling companies right now beyond AEW, you know, beyond AEW. You have so many companies that are doing decently. Companies like Impact, companies like NWA, companies like GCW. You know, GCW just sold out Hammerstein. It was one of the biggest indie shows of all time. There are alternatives out there, and it's just a shame. It's a shame what this whole thing has become, because they don't know what to do. Oh, ratings are down. Oh, let's bring back Hulk Hogan and have him talk in the ring. It's like, why? Why? You know, I was a Hulkamaniac, but I don't need to see this man taking up a prominent spotlight in 2022 when he's not going to do anything. If he's not going to do anything, if he's not going to get physical, if he's not going to, you know, take a bump or something like that, why is he on my television? You know, what purpose does this serve? And, you know, you can make the whole argument that it's the new guy, Nick Khan, who basically just focuses on the business aspect. He doesn't focus on, you know, the more monetary stuff, not on the actual product itself. And in the short term, that's going to work. You know, doing these Saudi Arabia shows where you make $50 million a fucking show, obviously that's going to work for your bottom line. But you have to think of the long term. You have to think of the long game with this. And in the long game, this is going to be potentially very detrimental. I mean, there's always going to be people who see the WWE as, you know, the top wrestling company, as the pilgrimage, you know, as an indie wrestler working your way up through the ranks, and you want to make it to the WWE, you want to make it on national television, you want to feel that WWE superstar, because you can't even say wrestler anymore. But in the long term, you're building a very dangerous thing, because really the effects of right now for the WWE are from the past, you know, 4 or 5 years, where they've just not really done a great job of building up new stars and building up new talent. So you have to rely on these old stars. Like, who's like The Rock and Stone Cold and Triple H and Undertaker and Kane and Mick Foley of this era? I don't really think you could say. I mean, obviously, like Roman Reigns, you know, Roman Reigns is a top dog. Seth Rollins, maybe, you know. Big E, you can't say Big E because he's been thrown down the card, you know, tossed away like nothing. It's very bizarre to me. It's very bizarre to me, and it's a problem that unfortunately is going to continue, because the company is cutting talent. The company is, you know, skimming the fat off of things and bringing in these part-timers, but to counteract that, they're doing these $50 million shows. So from a revenue perspective, everyone is happy, but from a business perspective, man, it's going to catch up to them eventually. It's going to bite them in the ass. And, you know, competition breeds, you know, better product, in my opinion. You know, you don't want to become stagnant. You don't want to be the top dog and the only dog, because then you have no reason to sort of push yourself. You have no reason to want to become better. So, I don't know what the fuck the point of this video was. You know what the point of this video was? I'm watching old WCW Nitro episodes, and just from a storyline perspective, just from like a self-contained thing, these episodes are so much more interesting. There's so many intermoving parts and intermoving players in this, and it just makes for more riveting television. And the WWE right now, it's like, I'll check out the pay-per-views, but I have no incentive to watch the weekly product because it's always the fucking same. It's always the fucking same. So let me know what you think of this in the comments section down below, because the WWE has terminal cancer. The WWE is going to die. So maybe they need to bring back the inject the lethal dose of poison. Me and the NWO. Oh. All right, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Goodbye.